Isaiah 42:6. I am the Lord, I will hold you by the hand and watch over you. Isaiah 42:6. I am the Lord, I will hold you by the hand and watch over you. So this memory verse is a very simple and comforting one, and it's God saying to us that I'll hold your hand, I'll be holding your hand, and I'm watching over you, I'm with you. And I was meditating on that, and I pictured a powerful father standing there with a little child who's walking down a road and they're holding hands. And it reminded me a lot of Psalm 23 and how God is the shepherd who's there comforting. He's the one with the power, the rod and the staff. He's there with us, walking with us through the valley of the shadow of death. But we don't, even though we're in such a hard valley, such a dark valley, there's no fear, but there's full comfort because He's there with us. And it's His presence, it's His touch of His hand the fact that He's holding my hand means there's a comfort. It's a physical reminder of His presence with us. And in a lot of ways, He does that for us, gives us physical reminders of that He's always with us. And when a child is really scared, there's nothing that can comfort them except for the parent. There's no toy. If my kids are scared of the dark, screaming waking up from a bad dream or something, I can't offer to give them a cup of water and then go back to my room or give them a toy or a nice blanket. There's nothing that can comfort a child except for you being there with them and holding them and saying, don't worry, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm right here. And so that's what God does for us. And there's nothing outside of Him that can bring us real comfort. We can have fake comfort, but it will never last. And He's there with us. He gives us Himself because He doesn't want me living in worry and fear. He wants me living in rest. And so He's always there with me. And this is a wonderful promise for me. He wants me to make Him my refuge. I like that word, refuge. Make Him my refuge. A family member once told me of a boy she heard of in her sister's church who grew up in a really bad home. And I think it was like pretty violent home. And so he would have a rough time. His parents would fight and scream, and he would go out of the house and go to a creek in the back, and he would just sit there and play with the frogs and talk to God for a while. And that was his refuge, was talking to God. And ever since my aunt told me that when I was a teenager, I've always had that picture in my mind of that's the kind of simple relationship I want with God, where I'm no matter what's going on, I can always withdraw in my heart to my secret room and have just time with God. He's my refuge. He's the release from everything out, no matter what's going on outside. That simple child who's just sitting there playing with the frogs, talking to God. I was like, I want to be that child, even as an adult. In a lot of ways, I find it harder to be like that child now than I was when I was younger. We feel a little more capable, I think, when we're older. So to me, that just says I need to fight it more and be more dependent on God. God was this boy's refuge and this comfort, and he was the only reliable relationship for this little boy, and his refuge in the time of need. And so I want to see God as my Father. He's the only one that's always going to be there. My one true love. It always hurts when you lose somebody that really loves you. I remember when I lost my grandparents, one of the things that really hurt was the thought that these were two of the people who loved me the most in the whole world, and then they're gone. But the one that loves me the absolute most is always here with me. He's always holding my hand, and that's God Himself, my Father. So praise God that no matter who we lose in life or what we go through, He's the one who loves us the most, who's always there with us every time. And the other kind of image I get of Him holding my hand and walking down the road is that He's leading me somewhere. I don't know where it is. When a parent and a child hold hands, the child almost never knows where it's going. It's just following the parent. And so I realize that can happen a lot in my life, that I don't know where I'm going. The future is always very hazy in our life. We don't know. We kind of have an idea. Maybe there's a verse that says, man makes his plans, but God directs his steps. So it's basically saying we think we know where we're going, but we really don't. We think we know that we're going down this way, but by the end of our life, God is taking us down this way because that's what we really needed. And so he's holding us by the hand. Not only is he comforting us, but he's leading us, and he's taking me to the exact place that I need to go, where I can be close to him, close to Jesus, and in great fellowship with him. And so I also got that picture from him holding my hand. I'm always encouraged when I look backward. So looking forward is hazy, but looking backward is encouraging, because I know every time when I look backward, I see where he's brought me and why he did certain things that I didn't know why he was doing back then. But now it's become very clear. Not absolutely clear. There's still some things I don't know why he's done, but for the most part, I see a big picture that he's doing something, and I praise him for what he's been doing and leading me. And so it's like there's never been a day in my life that he hasn't provided what I've needed. Everything that I've ever needed, he's always been there. It hasn't been easy. God doesn't promise ease, but he does promise he'll give us what we need. And it's like it says in the first verse of Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." When I was a kid, I didn't know what that meant. I thought maybe it means the Lord is my shepherd, I shouldn't desire toys or something like that. I didn't know what that meant, but it basically just means it's simple. The Lord is our shepherd. He's there with us. We're going to have everything we need. We don't need to worry about going through a day without our needs being met. And that gives me faith for the future. He's not a far and distant, impersonal God, but he's a close God who's loving us more than anybody else, any love we could ever imagine. And his love for us is so intense that he sacrificed his son to be able to hold our hand and walk with us in fellowship. We sang this morning how deep the Father's love for us. I think that's a good meditation to think about how deep God's love really is. We can't really comprehend it, but I think it does us well to meditate on it. For example, what if God could have purchased us with something other than Jesus? What if he could have paid Satan off by giving him, "Here, Satan, here's your own earth. Let me have my children back." Or what if he could have told Satan, "I'll give you your own universe, have fun, you and the demons can live there, I'm taking my people." What would that have said about God's love? Please turn to Song of Solomon, chapter 8. Song of Solomon, chapter 8, the second part of verse 7. The first part says, "Many waters cannot quench love, nor will rivers overflow with it." The second part of verse 7 says, "If a man were to give all the riches of his house for love, it would be utterly despised." God's saying, the kind of love that can pay some material thing for something, that's a despicable love. His love would have been worthless compared to a sacrifice of Jesus. Basically, if God could have paid a universe for us and paid Satan off with some material thing, it wouldn't have said much about God's love. But the fact that he sacrificed something that hurt him the most, that's what tells us how valuable God's love is. So if a man were to give all the riches of his house for love, it would be utterly despised. It's a despicable love that is paid off by riches. Instead, God gave his sacrifice, a real sacrifice. It wouldn't have hurt God much to create anything and pay Satan off, but it hurt him deeply, more than anything, to give Jesus, his only son. And so real love takes a sacrifice that hurts. That's why he had to give Jesus, because it took to be able to express the intensity of his love for us, he had to do it. He had to sacrifice Jesus. And that's why our love for him isn't defined by the old covenant externals, where we just pay him off with 10% of our income, or some traditions, or putting some animals that we bought on the street on an altar and then cutting them in half and setting them on fire. That's a despicable love. But a real love that we can show back to him is in the new covenant, where we lay down our life every day for him, denying our own will. A real love is the one that hurts, where it hurts us to give up something from ourselves. And he loves us with that much intensity. And so when I'm picturing this father with a boy walking down the road, holding his hand, I see a God who's loving this boy so intensely, and I'm just ignorant of how much he loves me. And it's amazing. It's amazing to me that he's so much more happy, just like the picture, so much more happy to be with me than I am with him. It's just amazing. So I just wanted to close by reading Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.